Okay, so Jeuveau, this is the newest neurotoxin that's out. So Botox is like the original. Then Dysport came along, and then something called Xeomin came along, and Jeuveau is like the latest player. So this is my first time injecting Jeuveau. But I've used it on a bunch of patients, and it has amazing results, just like Botox, really no difference. So we're gonna test it on myself today. So as you can see, I'm moving a lot. So the goal is to not move. So that's what we're gonna try to accomplish right now. That once you start doing it, you always have to keep doing it. That's not true. So for Botox, it lasts for me it lasts like 2 or 3 months, but for most folks it lasts about 4 to 6 months, and that's kind of based on how active you are. So I'm pretty active, and the more you work out, the less it lasts. But if I were to stop doing Botox, nothing bad's gonna happen. I'll be able to move my muscles. These are called dynamic lines, the lines I make when I move my muscles. So once I stop doing Botox, I'll be able to make those muscles. As long as I keep doing Botox, the goal is to paralyze those muscles, because it's the movement of those muscles that causes wrinkles. So the first thing is to inject these lines over here. So the muscles that are here, there's one muscle in the middle, and there's 2 muscles that kind of go this way and that way. So step 1 is to inject those. It really actually doesn't hurt at all. This is a very fine needle. The reason why I'm looking in the mirror is, one, where I'm obviously placing the needle, but I'm also looking to see how much I'm injecting. If you're a dermatologist or a plastic surgeon, the answer is yes. So those shots basically take care of this area here. The reason why I put those 2 shots out there is, if you don't, when you move your forehead or move your face, it literally goes like this. And that's like a telltale sign that you had Botox. So you have to put those 2 little shots out there to keep that from happening. The key is to start before you have lines at rest. For me, when I was watching myself on like all these Instagram videos and YouTube videos, I saw that I was making a lot of lines. So that's why, but when I was moving, but I don't really have lines at rest. So I want to keep myself from having lines at rest. You can start in your late 20s. I've been doing Botox with my wife since she was 29. Well, it's all placement. You want to place it all in the right space. It also takes about a week for it to start working. So when you walk out of the doctor's office, it's not going to be taking effect at all. It takes like a week. A few days you'll start noticing the results, and about a week in, you'll see pretty much how it's going to look, but it could actually take 2 weeks total for it to completely settle out. So you just have to be patient, wait for it to take effect. Well, I mean, like I said, the main one is that once you start getting it, you always have to get it, and that's just not true. You're just gonna let it wear off. If you don't like it, you just let it wear off, and you never need to get Botox again. But I can tell you in my experience, I've never met a single person who hasn't loved it. You can't get Botox if you're pregnant or nursing. So in the decade of my 30s, we had 3 kids, my wife nursed all 3 kids. So she probably got Botox like 6 times in that year. But if you think about it, if Botox lasts like 6 months, and you're not moving those muscles for 6 months, for that decade, for a 3.5-year period of that decade, 6 treatments of Botox last about 6 months, she wasn't making wrinkles for 3.5 years, so that's pretty good. And she looks very good. Well, everything's synergistic, right? So it all plays a role, but sunscreen, Botox, and using some kind of retinoid cream at night, that's basically all you need. But obviously good clean living is important too. So you can't abuse your body, because that all ages you, obviously. Lack of sleep, poor diet, poor exercise. Okay, time to reload. So for my patients, I actually use a fresh bottle of Botox for all my new patients. So this is just some leftover stuff that I had from prior treatments. Yeah, so it's different. Yeah, each place is different. It depends what you inject. For our patients, for a full treatment of Botox, that means treating this area here, the forehead and around the eyes, it's $1,000. The reason why my fees are maybe a little bit higher than other folks is because I actually use a fresh bottle for every patient. So my cost for doing Botox is very, very high. But by doing that, I'm able to have a very reproducible result for all my patients because it's a brand new fresh bottle of Botox, which to me I think it's important. So when you have lines at rest, then you're actually treating those lines. It doesn't completely eliminate them, but it softens them. Preventive Botox is using Botox before the lines are there at rest. So like, if you look at my forehead here, I don't really have lines at rest. I mean, they're very subtle, I have some, but they're not deep lines. If I were to have deep lines, the Botox would soften them, kind of spread them out. But the real key with Botox is doing it before you have lines at rest, because if you paralyze the muscles that make those lines, you're not going to form lines because you can't move the muscles that make them. So that really is the key. And that's what I encourage all my patients to do if they can. It's basically a protein that inhibits the way the neurotransmitters work that cause muscle movement. So like anything, it just degenerates over time, so its effects wear off. So usually, like for me, my metabolism is pretty high. It'll wear off in like 2 months or so. But it will completely take probably 4 to 6 months to completely 100% wear off of me, just because the protein breaks down over time. So that's why if anything bad happens when you get Botox, like if you don't like the way it looks, it goes away. So nothing permanently bad can happen if you get Botox. The results just wear off and you go back to the way you were before you had the treatment. Not at all. Yeah, so your muscles just go back to functioning as they would had you never gotten Botox. But if the more you get Botox over time, like over years and years, the muscles that make those lines actually start to weaken because you're paralyzing them repeatedly. So it's sort of the more you do it, the less you need over time, because the muscles, they're not as strong as they would be had they been like working out, making those facial movements over the course of like years and years. If you stop, it's kind of like if you lift weights, your muscles get bigger. If you paralyze the muscles that make those lines, then they get weaker and they are less vigorous and they just can't make as deep lines as they would have if you've never gotten Botox before. So that's like a really big reason why I'm a big proponent of preventive Botox, is because as the muscles weaken over time, you're gonna have less wrinkles, which is really, when you do this sort of thing, that's the key, right? All right, that's it, man. That's a wrap.
Good.
You can call our office. City office is 212-228-2526. You can make an appointment for either office, either my Long Island office or my New York City office by calling that number. You can email us at info@mudgildermatology.com. You could send a direct message to me on Instagram, dr_Mudgil. That's pretty much it. Those are the best ways to reach us. So if you're interested in getting Botox, come on in, give us a call or shoot us an email and we'll be happy to treat you. For aliens, like anyone who wants it, as long as they're a candidate, we're good to go.